Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever in the world you are. I'd like to talk tonight about the issue of 2023 elections. Zanu PF is rigging these elections, and Triple C know it. They are participating in these elections, knowing fully well that the elections are flawed and that by participating, they only give Zanu PF legitimacy. And the reason why they continue participating regardless is, of course, greed, as David Coulthard admitted in his book, and I've shown it on many of my presentations here. The evidence is mounting. The last few weeks, ZEC reportedly launched its voter registration blitz. Normally, voter registration for the opposition is they register their supporters, or they try to register their supporters soon after the last election. And as of 30th of May last year, ZEC revealed that it had only registered 250,000. The whole country, 250,000. This is 4% of what Triple C had set for themselves as their target, to register 6 million. And the last few weeks, the ZEC declared that it was going to have a voter registration blitz. What we have seen actually since May was an increase in voter registration by Zanu PF supporters. It makes absolutely perfect sense. Zanu PF does not want its supporters to appear in the voters' roll, so they register them late so that they could say, "Oh, we didn't have time to put them in the voters' roll." And some of them, it's clear why they don't want them to be put on the voters' roll. We saw videos of people from rural areas around Harare, Lomboshava, Koromonzi, and so forth, being bussed in to register in Harare urban. We know what is happening here. Zanu PF supporters from the rural areas will vote in the rural constituency, and then they'll be bussed into the urban centers and they'll vote again. We've seen this happen all the time. During this blitz, Triple C tried to make it that they are increasing their voter registration drive, and they are gaining ground. And let's listen to this video from an opposition supporter in Harare and their experience in getting registered.
Harare Central. This is day number 3 of the ZEC Blitz voter registration, and we have been facing challenges since day 1. Day number 1, there was only one official from ZEC who was operating, and the ZEC official is an old guard who is not acquainted with the technology of the machines they are using. And day number two, only 6 people were saved in almost 3 hours, and we cannot allow such to continue. ZEC should improve in terms of delegating officials who are acquainted with the machines and the technology they want to use in this coming election and this voter registration process. As you can see, we have come with students who want to register, and they cannot be saved because the people right now, they cannot operate the machines, and we are calling for the supervisor in this constituency to come and save those who want to register. And those first-time voters, are frustrated. It's a deliberate move to frustrate first-time voters who want to register to vote, who want to vote in the next coming election. And we are calling ZEC to improve its operations because this cannot be allowed to continue. This cannot be allowed to happen. In the morning, they did not save students. They did not save the people who have come to register because they were saying they have no power backups and the weather was not good for the solar panels which they use.
There we have it. This is not a new story. This is what is so annoying about it. This is a normal and regular story. We've heard this so many times. In opposition strongholds, the hurdles that voters have got uh, to jump are countless. Anything to discourage them from participating. And, and this has happened again and again. And unless we implement the democratic reforms and free SEC to operate in an independent way, this is the reality. This young man, what he's telling us is the slow process of voter registration in Harare. It's an urban area, and ZEC is deliberately being slow. In some cases, even if you do succeed in registering, you may find that you never appear on the voters' roll. Or if you appear on the voters' roll, it will be in a constituency other than, or a polling station rather, other than the one you expected. In some cases, in fact, it could be your name could be posted in a constituency outside where you live. This is what is happening. This is part of the vote stealing by Zanu PF. We keep going through this over and over again. And obviously, MDC leaders want to give the impression that they are going to win this time and insist on participating in these elections. One is going to ask, why? And the answer, of course, is very clear: corruption. What Mnangagwa has done is seen to it that the opposition are enticed to participate in these elections, regardless of how flawed the process gets. This is the problem we have with our opposition friends. They will insist in participating in these flawed elections, even when they know that the process is flawed. They claim they're going to win big when everyone can see they are not going to win at all. Zanu PF is set to win its usual majority, normally two-thirds majority even, and then the presidency. The opposition, Zanu PF needs them to give the impression that the election was free, fair, and credible, and Zimbabwe is still a healthy and functioning multi-party state. I think it is important to understand that we have a problem with the opposition. It is absolutely pointless to keep on pretending that we've got only the problem with Zanu PF. No, the problem is also with the opposition. I was engaged today with some of the supporters of the opposition, some of them, no doubt, aspiring leaders who are hell bent on participating in these coming elections because they want their share of the um, spoils of power. And the usual argument came up again. Or if Triple C does not participate, The other smaller parties will participate and give ZANU PF legitimacy. This is just a worn out excuse for participating. If you know the process is so flawed that even the uh, uh, Changirai could not win the keys to State House, even after it won 73% of the votes in 2008. That's how flawed the process is. What is the point of participating? Particularly when you know by participating, you are giving legitimacy to the process. There is one thing that ZANU PF and SAPO did in 1978. Ian Smith came up with his internal settlement and created the Zimbabwe Rhodesia. Everyone could see that Zimbabwe Rhodesia was, at best, a setup in which the black majority were going to be second class citizens whose vote will never be equal to the minority whites, even though they are in the majority. And ZANU PF and ZAPU refused to participate in those elections. Muzorewa and Davaning Stole did participate. But everyone could see, this was a highly compromised solution. It will never be deliver free, fair, and credible elections and basic human rights for the blacks. And the international community refused to recognize Ian Smith. It is amazing how some of these opposition supporters, Triple C, keep insisting that if Triple C did not participate, Monzora and others will participate and give ZANU PF legitimacy. Do you seriously believe the international community would not see through uh, the sheer meaninglessness of participating in those elections? Particularly when you think in the 2018 election, MDC Alliance, led by Chamisa, won 42% of the vote. And all the other smaller opposition parties altogether won less than 4%. So if the main opposition party was to withdraw and boycott the elections, it is obvious that the international community would notice that. But the main reason why Nelson Chamisa and company cannot withdraw or boycott the elections now is that having participated in 2013, when they actually had the best opportunity to do so, to boycott the elections, because even SADC, who were the guarantor of the 2008 global political agreement, were arguing them not to participate in those elections without reforms. They ignored the advice and participated out of greed, which is exactly what David Coulthard was talking about in his book. So for Triple C to now turn around and say, "Oh, we are boycotting," people will have to ask, "What has changed? What has changed? You participated in 2013, and then you participated in 2018, when there was still not even one single democratic reform implemented. There was still no verified voters roll. So what has changed this time?" This is the dilemma that Nelson Chamisa has. He has to participate in these elections, but it is not because he has got any chance of winning big, as he claimed. ZANU PF will win and will have legitimacy because the opposition will participate in their numbers. And Mnangagwa has been smart enough to make sure that even some of the opposition leaders who lost in the presidential race were rewarded through his Pollard arrangement. And in the cartoon there, we can see US 40,000 and the opposition MPs fighting over it. This was the latest bribe that Mnangagwa offered the opposition late last year. It was offered as a loan, a housing loan, but everybody knows good MPs do not repay these loans. They're just written off. Even Nelson Chamisa could not deny that it was a bribe. And so for the coming elections, the opposition will be fighting each other to be elected so that they could have the 60,000 car allowance, which all MPs normally get, and then the generous salary and allowances that MPs get, and no doubt the US 40,000 housing allowance will be on offer again for the new MPs. Even those who get elected again, who were sitting last time, will get another 40,000 US dollars, tax free, and they don't have to repay a penny. That's the bribes that Zanu PF is relying on to make sure that the opposition always participate to give the process legitimacy. One of the guys in my WhatsApp group had the cheek to dismiss my arguments that the opposition should not participate by claiming that I'm only referring to the past. Matakajka Kariavaradze Mwana, he said, which in English would basically mean, you can dwell on the past, but to bring little comfort to anyone. To be quite honest, I would not say Matakajka Kariavaradze Mwana talking about the opposition. I could say that about Zanu PF. At least they delivered the uh, independence. They stayed the course to fight against the white colonial regime. In 1978, when Ian Smith created his Zimbabwe Rhodesia, he was hoping that Zanu PF, Zanu then, and the PF SAPU would also be enticed to participate and to use the same logic of the MDC supporters to stop Musorewa and Abaning Stole getting all the parliamentary seats. Fortunately, ZANU and PF SAPO were disciplined enough to say, no, we are not going to participate. I think we cannot say the same about our opposition friends. The ordinary people of Zimbabwe have risked life and limb to elect them so that they could implement changes in Zimbabwe designed to end the ZANU PF dictatorship. The original name of MDC stands for Movement for Democratic Change. After 23 years, they failed to implement even one meaningful reform to bring about the democratic changes. So they've delivered absolutely nothing. I think a more appropriate quotation for MDC friends would be what Oliver Cromwell said um, to the Ram Parliament in after they had failed to deliver meaningful change in Parliament. Uh, he told them in no uncertain terms that they should go. They had accomplished absolutely nothing, and it was time for them to go. And I think that would be more appropriate to our MDC friends. Instead of um, what they think we should be saying to them, "Matakachka kare avaraizi mwana." That would be inappropriate. They have achieved nothing in the 23 years they've been in power, and really, we should ask them to go. So I'll finish by quoting from Oliver Cromwell. You have been sat too long here for any good you have been doing. Depart, I say. Let us have done with you. In the name of God, go. MDC Triple C will never deliver any meaningful change. They lost that opportunity to do so. Right now, all they are doing is participating in flawed elections to give Zanu PF legitimacy and get, in return, a few seats on the gravy train. We really need to tell Chamisa and company, in the name of God, go. Thank you and good night.